Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger once again. I am Cage. I'm solo. I'm solo today because, I watched Venom 3, The Last Dance, and I know what you're thinking. That movie came out like 5 months ago, and you're right. But I didn't watch it 5 months ago. I was planning to watch it 5 months ago, but it came out on the same Thursday that I had this work event I had to go to. So, you know, wasn't able to make it. And then, after the premiere, do I really want to go see it? And you see some reviews coming out, people saying not so nice things about it. And you're like, well, we'll probably just wait. And guess what? I waited. And it's on Netflix now, so I watched it. There you have it. That's why I didn't watch it 5 months ago. That's why you're going to get a review 5 months late. Listen, I know. Who cares at this point, right? Who cares what we think at this point? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I watched it, so I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, Venom 3 is not fully the tragic end of Sony's Spider-Man universe because Kraven the Hunter came out after that. So, and it's also going to come out on Netflix. So I'll be watching that at some point too to talk about it. Because again, for those who missed it, I talk a lot of shit about Sony's Spider-Man universe and how it's flawed and how the movies aren't very good and how their CEO is delusional to think that they are putting out good products. And how can I say that with full conviction if I haven't watched all the product? So I'll give you a recap of what I've watched to this point. Everything except for Kraven the Hunter. The first Venom was decent. It made good money at the box office, which is why they thought they could just put out any slop that has to do with Spider-Man characters with no Spider-Man, and people would gobble it up. Venom 2, not so good. Let There Be Carnage. It had some cool moments. It had some it was fine. Madam Web, pretty awful. It's pretty awful. Yeah. Morbius, which came out before Madam Web, actually. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't as bad as the internet would lead you to believe, but it also wasn't very good at all. There are moments that are pretty all right, but overall, not great. And now we have Venom 3, which is not a bad movie. It's just a movie that, at this point, you don't know why people care that much, right? Because it was postponed like a year as well. It was supposed to come out like October of 2023. And it got pushed back like almost a full year. It might have even been supposed to come out in August of that year. Kraven was supposed to come out in August of 2023, I believe, and it ended up getting pushed more than a year back. So, some of this has to do with the actor strike and everything that was going on at the time as well. But at this point, you kind of just think, why does anyone care, right? Like, in general, why does anyone care anymore when we know the universe is going to end, when we know that it's the last dance, right? It's the last film, most likely, where you'll see Tom Hardy and as Venom, at least within Sony's universe, right? It's entirely possible he makes a jump over to the MCU if Sony plays ball and all this stuff, but more or less, you have to kind of try to understand, right? Why does anyone care? I'm getting some static in my headphones, guys. We're gonna do our best to try to mitigate this real quick. Oof. Okay, there we go. Fixed it. Sorry if I broke your eardrums. Fixing it. I'm gonna replace this mic cord soon. But yeah. I struggle with Venom 3 because, first of all, the chemistry, or the banter, the back and forth, the connection between Eddie Brock and Venom, it really carries the movie in a lot of ways because it's entertaining, it's funny, it's, it is what it is. It's a central focus of Venom movies, right? Is this relationship between Eddie Brock and Venom, um, and the movie's plot is kind of whatever, especially because it doesn't necessarily manifest into anything until like parts of it don't really make sense. I'm gonna do some spoilers, so if you haven't watched this 5 months old movie, spoiler warning. So more or less, this film centers around Eddie Brock and Venom as they're on the run. They're fugitives now. So if the last time we saw them, they got sucked in to the MCU, and they were in Mexico at this bar, and the Venom sample got left behind. But here at the very beginning of the movie, they're at that same bar in the MCU talking to the bartender, who's telling him about Thanos and how he snapped his family out of existence and all this stuff. And then he gets sent back. He gets sent back to his own universe. That's where we're starting. And when he gets back to his own universe, he sees on the news that he's wanted for the death of the detective who died in the cathedral fight in the last movie when he was fighting Carnage. I don't know how all that came together, but there you have it. So he's being hunted, but not only is he being hunted for that reason, he's also being hunted by the government because they know he has a symbiote, and they're experimenting on the symbiotes at Area 51. And then also he's being hunted by Null. And Null is the King in Black. Null in this, he refers to himself as the King of the Void because he is trapped in this. And I guess he's trapped on Clintar still, which is the planet of the symbiotes. He created the symbiotes. He was trapped by the symbiotes, and then he created these Xeno thingies, these other monsters that he needs to go find Venom, because Venom and Eddie have this codex within them, right? This key. And the codex exists because Eddie died and Venom saved him and brought him back to life, creating this codex. And it's the key to freeing Null. And so Null is pursuing them across dimensions not across dimensions really, but through space and time to try to free himself. So Eddie's just being hunted by everyone. And then he starts in Mexico, and there's lots of funny bits between him, especially when he turns into Venom, while he's fighting these Mexican guys who are like dog fighters, and they want to free the dogs, and he turns into Venom and he says, "Hola, bitches." That was pretty good. And so really it's an entertaining movie, but some of my struggles with the plot are that, like, everyone's hunting Venom. In the end, right? Again, spoiler warning. In the end, Venom sacrifices himself to kill all the interdimensional. I keep saying they're interdimensional because they like travel through portals. But to kill these Xena thingies, he kills. He sacrifices himself to kill them and save Eddie all at the same time. And I guess it's supposed to be real sad because we're supposed to believe Venom's dead, which I don't, because at the very beginning of the movie, when they went to that bar, he left some money on the table, and part of the symbiote suit was there. It got collected by the military, and so it's entirely possible Venom gets free and connects with Eddie. But there's that. So essentially they win, right? They stop Null from freeing himself. But then the post-credit scene is Null saying that he's free and he's going to come burn everything and kill everyone, which doesn't really make sense because, again, the Sony's Spider-Man universe is not likely to continue. And, we'll talk about kind of how that might look as well. Um, but those are that's the thing. The only real thing I struggle with this movie is like, if you win, then why is no coming still? Because we need him to come, because that's what's gonna get the fans excited, right? I don't know. But there's a lot of cool moments in this movie. Really, like, it's the Venom horse, the way the symbiote travels through animals, its connection with Eddie, the banter between Eddie and Venom, all the other symbiotes that we see throughout the movie as well, and especially towards the end. Cool little battle sequences. Venom in Vegas was pretty funny. I didn't need him dancing with Mrs. Chen. That was a little odd, but the rest of it was pretty entertaining. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a fine movie. It's an entertaining movie. I do think they dilly dally a little bit at certain parts of the film. Like, the pacing's off in certain areas, and of course they have to establish this like underground secret Area 51 place, and all that. But I feel like they spend quite a lot of time with it that they don't need to. They could make it a little more fast paced or interesting in some way, where there are interesting bits of it, especially like when the detective has one of the symbiotes in him, and you see him like go full symbiote and start talking to him. But that's like way later in the movie. Early on in the movie, there's not a lot happening there. There's not a lot that you really care about there. So, those things could be better. But overall, yeah, it's a pretty entertaining movie. It's something that I probably wouldn't have mind watching in the theaters. I thought it was fine. I thought if you look at the Sony Spider-Man universe as a whole, right? Again, it's six. How many movies? It's the 3 Venom movies, right? Venom 1, Venom Let There Be Carnage, Venom The Last Dance, Madam Web and Morbius, and then Craven, right? Which I haven't seen yet. But out of those 5, I would put this at number 2, right? The first Venom first, then this, then Let There Be Carnage, then Morbius, and then Madam Web. The bar's pretty low for a lot of it, but it's not a bad movie. It's hard to care that much, right? Like, it's a fine one-off flick. It's the third in a trilogy, so there's always that as well. I don't think it did that well at the box office, simply because, again, saying it's just this Sony Spider-Man universe thing needs to really properly die off. And again, I hear the static again. Let's do. Sorry if I murdered your ears. I murdered my own. Oof. Dead. Okay. So let's talk about what that looks like, right? What this Sony universe, Spider-Man universe, looks like going forward. It seems like there's not a lot of profitability in continuing to make these films in the way they have been, trying to build towards the Sinister Six kind of thing, or whatever they were trying to do. What I think they will do is, I think they still believe that there's value in Spider-Man, because there is. And so they're going to try to maximize that for what they can, I believe. So I think that Sony will allow their contract with Marvel probably to run out. Or they will start making other Spider-Man movies. They'll use Miles Morales in live action in some way, shape, or form. Or they'll look at doing something that's more mainstream, more appealing to the general public, I would say. I think that they've seen what they've been doing is not working, because most fans really don't care unless Spider-Man's a part of it. So I would expect them to start trying to make some Spider-Man projects, and either that manifests with Peter Parker coming back and no longer being part of the MCU, or I don't know. I don't think people really want another Spider-Man reboot. So you'd have to do something new, and to me that looks like Miles Morales or something else, right? Like there are plenty of other Spider people that you could leverage, but we've never seen any like Clone Saga stuff in live action. We've never seen Ben Reilly hanging out there in live action. There's a lot that we haven't seen that we could see that would be good, and that Sony could work with either Disney on or do it themselves. So who knows? Who knows how that'll manifest, what that'll look like. But I don't see them just letting the rights fall away and not having them anymore. I think they're too greedy to do that. And so I don't think they'll actually stop making Spider-Man movies. I don't know if making the Spider-Verse movies counts towards keeping the rights. I'm actually not sure about that, but yeah, well, it's one of those things where they tried something that didn't work, that most people could tell them wasn't going to work, unless they did a really good job, right? Like unless like all of these movies were actually like outstanding on their own. They'd have to in some way, shape, or form transcend the comic book genre to do that, which is pretty tough to do. There's only a couple comic book movies that I feel really transcend the genre in a lot of ways. One being Black Panther. I think Shang-Chi also does a pretty decent job of it. And you can argue the first Iron Man as well, even though it is really in that mold of a superhero movie. It hit the mainstream in a different kind of way. But that was never going to happen with Sony, unfortunately. So this is where we are. We ended up with 2 decent Venom movies, 1 not so good Venom movie, a bad Madam Web movie, and a Morbius movie. And Kraven the Hunter, from all accounts, has not been very good. But I'll give my own account of it when I see it. I wish Sony saw the light and saw all the money that they're making working with Disney, if they are making money off that, and work with them more, right? Have more agreements about all these different things, like make sure that fans can get what they want and Sony can still make profit off of it. But yeah, it doesn't seem like that's likely. I think it's more likely that they're gonna try their own thing, which could be great. I mean, listen, Sony deserves criticism for what they've done with these villain films, but they should get some praise too for what they did with the first 2 Spider-Verse films. Both very good films, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if they can, excuse me, I'm tired. If they could do that with the animation stuff, why can they not tell those compelling stories in live action? I mean, they should be able to, right? So I would hold out for that. I would hold out and see what they're able to accomplish, but don't have much faith based on what they've given us in the live action space recently. So that's it. I mean, short and sweet. It was a decent film. I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything like phenomenally amazing, but it wasn't trash either. It wasn't bad. It was just pretty decent. So that's it. See you next time. Much love. Rate, review, comment, subscribe. I don't know. Click some more buttons, please. See ya next time. Bye.